The best of the morning to you. This is Monday with Friday, preparing you for a better week ahead. Forgiveness can be complex, misunderstood, and hard to come by for all of us at some point or another. All of us at some point or another need forgiveness from somebody. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors is the sixth phrase in what is almost a universal prayer that we have been exploring. It urges us to pray as sinners, and in so doing urges three affirmations of us. First, we cannot be bold enough to ask God for forgiveness without being humble enough to ask others for forgiveness. So whether we use the word sins or debts or trespasses, each of which are in the biblical texts, the concept is that we're always indebted to God. Whether it is God or Mother Nature we consider as the benefactor, we cannot repay God or nature for life, air, sunshine, earth, water, food, or human or even animal companions. So since we always remain indebted for these, we live constantly in a state of needing forgiveness, whether we recognize it or not. Recognizing it, though, makes humble and service-oriented people out of us, even though sometimes we might miss the mark, harming others. Thinking that we owe neither God nor nature anything makes dangerous and destructive people of us, and our very modus operandi is guaranteed to harm others. We are always indebted to God and to others. When we speak a deceitful word or do a self-serving deed or make a neighbor-harming omission, mangle a spiritual trust, abuse an ethical standard, or break a civil or criminal law, we harm others and we violate divine order and natural order. We cannot be bold enough to ask God for forgiveness without being humble enough to ask others for forgiveness. Second, we should not attempt to admit our faultiness to God without a willingness to admit our faultiness to others. Now, forgiveness arises from an awareness of the mutuality of our siblinghood or commonality of human messiness and the value of developing what I call confessional communities, wherein we may safely acknowledge our faults and readily receive forgiveness. We should not categorize wrongdoing wherein we make some wrongs more respectable than others and claim the respectable ones that need no confession for ourselves and leave the squalid ones for everybody else and hound them with ridicule. No, we should not attempt to admit our faultiness to God without a willingness to admit our faultiness, which we all as humans share with others. And third, we shall not be eligible for God's forgiveness until we have already forgiven others. Now, in Greek, as in English, there is more than one past tense. One of them is the aorist, a simple past tense that says that an action has been done, but with the possibility that although the action is complete, its impact or result may or may not still be in effect. So the past tense renders this phrase effectively like this: forgive us our sins because we have already forgiven those who sinned against us. We shall not be eligible for God's forgiveness until we have already forgiven others. A couple of observations before I close. One, forgiveness may not always require confession, but it always works best with confession. And two, forgiveness does not absolve us of the work of justice. So although Rakeem Jones, a black man, forgave and offered a handshake of friendship to James Franklin McGraw, the white man who sucker punched him in a certain politician's rally when that politician said, "You got to punch them in the face," McGraw still got 30 days in jail and a year's probation. Although men, and it is always, nearly always black men, released from prison after many years, and after DNA absolves them of the crime, and records show that police officers, usually white, lied, and district attorneys, usually white, misbehaved, and although such men always come out with grace, bearing no animosity to the system, and frankly I wish it didn't involve the taxpayer, has a responsibility to do justice by these men, and they do not always do it. Lying police and deceitful attorneys ought to go to prison for those wicked acts. So, although we might secure someone's forgiveness, we cannot just resume the behaviors that harmed them. No, we should be willing to go the extra mile for them, all the way to restitution if necessary. I am Michael Friday, and your week just got better. I'll see you again next week. Happy Monday, all the way to Friday.